back to my channel. Thank you so much for coming back and listening to what I have to say about cross stitch and the things that I'm doing. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and staying that way in these weird times we're living through right now. It is Saturday the 16th of May here in Australia. It is a bit overcast outside, weirdly, so maybe we will get a little bit of rain, which would be lovely. It's been quite dry and my yard is brown, so we would love to see a little bit of rain. I hope everyone is having a good Stitch Mania, whatever that looks like for you, whether that's doing starts like I have, doing lots of starts, or maybe just a few like me, whether you're stitching Stitchsania or Monogamania, or you're just following along at home and enjoying all these wonderful videos. Whatever you're doing in May, I hope you're having a good time. Things have been pretty much the same the last 2 weeks here. We have done 4 weeks of schooling from home, which I think we're finally getting the rhythm of right now, I think, while I continue to work from home as well. But the good news is that our state decided last week that some of the students would return to school. So the very youngest students and the oldest students would return back to school on the Monday just passed. And in a week, the rest of the students will return to class. So we have 1 more week of schooling from home with our children, and then they will be going back to school, which I think one of them is really excited about and the other one not so much, but that's okay. I have to say that I have, and I know this might sound terrible, but I have really enjoyed having my children at home and spending that time with them. I've worked full-time since they were both started, they were both in school, so it's been really nice to be here and to have them around and see them through, have lunch with them and help them out with their schoolwork and so on. It's not to say it certainly hasn't been easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm certainly grateful for the time that we've had. Personally, myself, we're being told at work that we will still be at home for a while yet. Certainly I can continue to do my job from home, so we're looking at possibly July at the earliest we will be going back into the building. So that's fine. I'm happy to keep doing that and working from home here. And good news, I don't have to do the school run, so I don't even have to do the drive to school, which is wonderful. Okay, so that's enough about my life. Let's talk about some stitching stuff that's been going on. So I think the very first thing we should talk about is the finish I had since we spoke last. So as you all know, I think in my last video I had about 700 stitches to go, 720 odd stitches to go on Mini Princess Izzy. And I think, so I filmed that video on the 3rd of May and this was finished on the 5th. So I really didn't take very long to get that all done. So in all her glory, here she is. We go. And I am so very, very proud of her. I forgot to check when I started her. It was sometime in 2016, I think, about this time of the year. So she has been a long time coming and she looks lovely. But interestingly, so I washed her and I ironed her and she's been sitting flat since that time, but see how you can see, I don't know if you can see, I can see that. There's the lines. So when I first stitched this, the first year or so, I stitched in columns along the top here. And even though I've pressed and pressed and pressed, they are not coming out. So that's okay. Maybe when she gets stretched or something, I don't know. And that is why Ladybird in the Meadow, I decided to stitch diagonally, because that really annoys me. And certainly as I got further on, I got better at feathering those out so we didn't see the lines so much, but Anyway, live and learn. I am very much all about the journey stitcher. I am not very good at finishing things or framing things. I'm all about the joy that stitching brings me and being able to sit and have that needle running through the fabric. That is what I'm about. So I'm not that sad that you can see that there, because she brought me a lot of joy and a lot of stress from all that confetti. But now she's done. And I love her. And I'm so proud of myself for pushing through that confetti and getting her done. So that's Mini Princess Izzy by Hannah Lynn. It's a Heaven and Earth design, and it is stitched 2 over 1/10 stitches on 28 count. Okay, so apart from, so when I spoke to you last, I had one Maynia start on the Friday night, and I was having one the next day. So I have had 4 since then, so I'm going to show you all of those. But in the meantime, I did work on 2 other whips for Magical Stitches prompts. So I just want to show you those first. So I worked on Ladybird in the Meadow. So here's a picture here of what that will look like when it's done. And here's a picture of what it was like when you saw it last. And here it is now. So I think I got maybe another 500 stitches. I can't remember. No, it was probably 1,000, to be honest, because I seem to stitch on this in 1,000 increments. So I'll get it up a bit that way. That's better. So yeah, so the diagonals are taking longer, so it's not heaps of progress, but I really like stitching on this. It's very soothing, big long blocks. It's cool. And interesting fact, that dark blue, that's one whole skein of 820. So I think this pattern calls for 5 skeins of 820, and that's one there. So I always find that cool. Okay, so the other thing that I worked on since I saw you last was Mother's Arms by Mirabilia, which looks like this. And this is where I was at last time you saw it. And I didn't get heaps of stitches in this. I think it was only maybe 300 to 500 stitches for another prompt, or for a couple of prompts, I think. Yeah, I think for a couple of prompts. So she's not had heaps, but a few extra bits down the bottom there. I'm stitching this particular project top down, so because I can fit her in my Q-snap, when I put my extenders on my 11, I can, was it the 17? Anyway, I have a stack of Q-snaps and I snap them all together in different configurations. So I have one that is wide enough so that I can put the whole thing across, and I'm just working my way down. But I have to say, I think that she might be my next goal to get done, because I really, really enjoy stitching on her. I love this fabric. It's a Jobelan. I really love Jobelan. I love Jobelan more than I love lugana. I just find that it is really sensitive to the Q-snaps. So I have to be really, really careful. And because it's not as durable, I suppose, it makes me nervous to stitch on, but it's just so nice. Yeah, so lovely. I love her. I don't know, I feel like we say that all the time, don't we? Whenever I'm watching Flosstube and everyone's like, I love this one, I love this one. I mean, we love them all, don't we? That's the whole point. We love them all. Okay, so those were the whips that I worked on since I saw you last. So, since I saw you, I've had the 4 Stitch Mania starts. And if you don't remember or you haven't seen my previous videos, I'm starting a new project on the Friday night and the Sunday for every weekend in May. I work full time, so it's hard for me to do new starts during the week. So I do them on the weekends instead. So last time I was here, I had started Spring Cottage by Durene Jones. And then on the Sunday after I released my video, I started my next one when I used the Tiny Decisions app. And the one that came up it's called Just Hanging Out by Durene Jones. And this is what it will look like when it's done. And I have a thing for sloths at the moment. They're the cool new thing, aren't they? Sloths and llamas are the things right now. So I really wanted to stitch this and take it to work with me, hopefully when we go back sometime later in the year. So this is just on a scrap of linen I had hanging around. I should say this is another Durene Jones pattern, so clearly I have a thing for Durene at the moment. And this is my start. Trying to angle it so the light from the window gets you the best view. So yeah, so I think that's pretty good. So I worked on this that Sunday. So I'm really pleased with how much I got on that. Cute little sloth. And most of the starts that I've put in for Stitch Mania are smaller starts. You will, if you've seen my first video, I don't like having heaps and heaps of whips, so this is a stretch out of my comfort zone to be doing Stitch Mania and having 10 starts in a month. So I've tried to pick mostly things that are smaller, which is hard for me because I'm not very good at stitching smalls. So I felt like that was a really good thing for the wheel to spin and pick on the first go around, because I think maybe one more day, 2 days, that will be finished, which is good. It makes me feel less stressful. Okay, so that was weekend number 1, and then weekend number 2 on the Friday night, I spun the wheel again, and it came up with one that I have had for a while. So I probably should preface this by saying I'm very lucky that I work at an organization that is a teaching institution, and it has a library. And a car alarm has just gone off. So I'm gonna pause this and hopefully, oh, it finished. Okay, good. We live in suburbia, that's what you get. Okay, so I work at a teaching institution, we have a library, and as a staff member, I'm not an academic, but as a staff member, I get access to subscriptions, and they have a subscription to Press Reader, which gives me access to all of the UK stitching magazines, which is wonderful. And I wholeheartedly suggest checking out your library for these types of subscriptions, because they can be a really great resource. So this particular one, actually, I think most of my new starts have come out of Cross Stitcher magazines, like Cross Stitcher, World of Cross Stitching, etc. So this one was in Cross Stitcher, I think last year, and it is called Map of the British Isles. So this is what it will look like when it's finished. And this is my start on it so far. So I am stitching this on a 32 count lugana from Color Cascade Fabrics in the colorway Clouds. And you can see that I think this is the Lake District. And then I can't remember, I'm pretty sure that's a cathedral in the middle. And I'm gonna work my way up and across and then down the bottom. So I'll be heading up into Scotland soon, up here. So yeah, I am a massive Anglophile, if you haven't worked that out already, and it is my lifelong dream to visit the UK one day. So since I can't actually do that right now, I'm gonna stitch it instead, and that'll make me feel better. So yeah, so that is Map of the British Isles. That is by a designer called Fiona Crouch, who I had not heard of before. But yeah, that should be cool when it's done. That is the biggest project I've started this this month with Stitch Mania. And I have a couple of others that are larger, but it's the only bigger one that's popped out of the wheel so far. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so that was the Friday night. So I stitched on that the Friday night and some of the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, that was Mother's Day here in Australia. So I actually didn't do a whole lot of stitching on the Sunday of the next start because we were celebrating Mother's Day, but it was a weird Mother's Day, as I'm sure the whole or most of the world who was celebrating Mother's Day that day found. I couldn't be with my mum. My mum lives a few hours away, and while my state reduced the restrictions a little that day for Mother's Day, it was not enough for me to be able to go and see her. So that was a tough day. I was missing my mum. So, and I knew that she was missing me as well. So I didn't stitch very much. So what I decided to do was to keep that out and stitch it on it a little for the rest of the week. And normally I don't stitch a whole lot during the week, but I've managed to do a little bit in the morning before I start work, and sometimes a little bit at lunch. And if I'm not feeling too tired, a little bit at night as well. So I kept it out and I managed to get a little bit more work on it. So when the wheel spun on Mother's Day, it picked, it's called Home of a Stitcher. So this is the first time I've stitched something about being a stitcher. And as soon as I saw this pattern, I knew I wanted to stitch it. And it's by Faye Walsh, and she actually goes by, her company is called Little Dove Designs, and she does PDF patterns, and she does kits and things as well, if you like buying kits. And this is what it looks like, or will look like when it's done. And this is my start. So I have done, I'm almost done with the house. I've just got the roof to go. So yeah. And this is on a 28 count lugana. And I bought this from an Australian dyer a long time ago, probably like 8 years ago. And she doesn't dye anymore. So I think it was called something like Cherry Blossom because it's kind of got that pinkish look to it. So I really like this, but I'm a little bit concerned it doesn't go with this fabric. It looked good when I did the floss toss. I'm not sure. But I'm going to keep going anyway and see once I get some pinks on there how it looks then. But yeah, that's my Home of a Stitcher. So, so that was the second weekend, and so now it rolled around to yesterday, and I got to have my 5th start of the month, which is very exciting because it means we're halfway through Stitch Maynia. So when I spun the wheel last night, it spun up this project, and I've left it on the Q-snap because I've been working on it this morning, and I will probably work on it after I finish this video. So I wanted you to see it on the Q-snap, and it's called She Is Fierce, and it's by Emma Congdon, otherwise known as Stitchrovia. And I realized when I was writing my notes for this video that all of my starts have been by British designers, which I think says a lot about me, but that's okay, right? That's fine. Okay, so this is what She Is Fierce looks like. And I decided that I wanted to do mine on a purple fabric because I didn't want to do it on white. Just how I was feeling. So here is my start here, and I'm going to put some fabric behind it so that you don't get the light through. There we go. And I love how tropical those colors are. They're just really bright, like that orange. It's practically neon. So yeah, so I have got a really fair way already with this. So I'm going to keep stitching on this today and see how far I can get, because I think if I stitch on it today, it probably will need maybe one day more or a few hours at most to get it finished. And this is actually a set of 3. So there is this one, and then there's another one which is a Tolkien quote and a Pride and Prejudice quote. So I think I'd like to stitch all 3 eventually. This is on a 28 count lugana again, and this is an offcut from something else and I have lost the name of it. I'm not sure. It could be a hand dyed from Stephanie's fabric, because I bought a few of those when I was first buying hand dyed fabrics before we started to get some Aussie dyes. So it could be from her, I'm not sure. Anyway, that was my start from last night. So I will have another one tomorrow, and then only 4 more to go after that. And it's funny because I'm really glad I decided to only do 10 starts across May, because already I'm finding myself feeling like I just want to work on the things that I've started. I want to go back and work on my whips. I'm having a really strong desire to work on castles in the air at the moment, so that might see some progress soon. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I'm glad that I'm doing Stitch Mania. It's certainly pushing me out of my comfort zone as far as trying new things and doing lots of starts, but I could not see myself sustaining this number of starts over the course of the year. But we'll see. Who knows what this will do to me? Who knows? Okay, so that's everything that I have to show you. I hope that you continue to have a good May, and if you've not had a great May, that it starts to look up for you. I know that lots of places around the world are starting to reduce their restrictions like us. Ours reduced again overnight, so we can do some day trips now, which is good. Still not quite far enough to get to my mum's house, but hopefully the next round in a couple of weeks we'll do that and I can see my mum. But if you are in a place where they're reducing restrictions, please make sure that you stay safe and do all the things that we're supposed to be doing. It makes me a bit nervous to go back out into the world, I have to say, and it makes me nervous about sending my kids to school, but these are all those little steps that we have to do to get back to regular life, whatever regular life is going to look like on the other side. So yeah, so thank you for coming to see me again. Thank you for commenting. I really enjoy reading your comments. And you know, if you have channels and videos you want me to watch, please do. I love to hear about what other people are working on. I love to put Flosstube on and stitch away with you as you tell me about your stitching projects. So thank you so much. Thank you for liking and commenting and subscribing. I really am so grateful. I'm really enjoying making Flosstube videos for you, and I hope that this goes on for however long. So yeah, have a great couple of weeks. See you at the end of May. Bye everyone.